Your Fitness Business Podcast Snapshot. The inspiration behind developing systems and processes for staff training. The ROI when automating systems. And keeping staff updated on changes made to the processes. All of that and more coming up in today's episode. This is your host, Dory Nugent, and I'd like to personally welcome you back to another episode of the Fitness Business Podcast, the industry's leading business podcast for fitness owners and managers. I hope that you're having a great start to the week and an even better start to 2021. This week's show is number 341, and it features Brittany Welk, owner of Lady Strong and performance consultant for Loud Rumor. Today's topic is entitled, How Automating Staff Training Transforms Your Business. I am just about ready to get things kicked off with Brittany, but first, we need to hear a word from our podcast partner, Team Rockstar Fit.
Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com.
Brittany is a processes and operations guru. She's a studio owner that is in the trenches every day developing her current business and is taking her knowledge and skills out into the industry to help other studio owners just like her. I believe you enjoy the episode today, so sit back, relax, and listen to Brittany's expert advice on automating staff training. Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of the Fitness Business Podcast. This week's guest is Brittany Welk, and she is the co-owner of Lady Strong Fitness, as well as a performance consultant at Loud Rumor. Brittany, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Dory. It's a pleasure to be back.
Brittany, you are our expert this week, and you're going to talk about how automating staff training transforms your business. So I'd love for you to answer my first question, and that is, what inspired you to develop systems within your studio?
Honestly, I think this goes back to the first knowledge that you get as of owning a business is that everybody wants to own a business that they can walk away from and it runs and grows by itself. That's really, as an entrepreneur, what your destiny is mostly made of. And so we always knew that putting systems and processes in place that would automate training, the day-to-day, membership sales, operations, everything was the quickest path to having a business that runs itself and being able to take a step away and do the things that we wanted to do, whether it's, have another location or scale our business or work full-time somewhere else doing something else that we wanted to do. Like, that was something we always knew we had to have in place. So it was like, you want to own a business that runs, you have to automate a lot of it.
I talked to you a little bit before we started recording this session, and you said something I thought was pretty cool. You're like, hey, I've got these processes and had everything automated so much that I don't even need to be there as much.
Yeah. And that's the truth. It's like, that was one thing that before I decided to step on board with Loud Rumor as a performance consultant, it was like, do we have the systems in place? Do we have the infrastructure in place for me to, as a co-owner, to take a step away and dedicate my full time to something else other than the business? And it was like, Marcy and I decided that, this is definitely something that, we do really well and we have put in place that I can take that step away. So it's been pretty rewarding so far.
I think a lot of our business owner listeners right now are super jealous about that. And they're definitely tuning in because they're probably saying, how do I do that? And that's what you're here for today. You're going to try to keep diving. We're going to keep diving in a little deeper to see how our business owners can get these processes in place so they can step away.
Yep.
So I'd like to ask you, you automated so much of your business. Did you have manual systems to begin with, or did you just have like this vision in mind?
I think there was a lot of manual stuff in place first. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you that we've made a lot of mistakes along the way when it comes to whether we automate things, whether we put manual processes in place. And I would say that it's a combination of both. But one thing that I would caution listeners to be careful of is stepping away too fast. Thinking that you have all of the systems in place and that, you've documented things and you've got this automation and that, and like, it's kind of running okay, but it's not okay. But then you're like, well, it's there and it's in place, so I'm going to step away. And then you almost step away too early. And I speak to that from experience, because that was something that Marcia and I did early on. Was we kind of hired all the staff and like, we didn't really have things dialed in, and it wasn't like certain of how positions were going to work and how different systems, like on the coaching side and the sales side, was going to work. We didn't really know what the studio manager role looked like, but we had a studio manager at the time, and we're like, okay, everybody's in their spots. Now we're going to kind of take a step away and maybe do other things. And it was when we took that step away that it was like our business almost like just took a dive bomb, honestly. And it took having a coach, like I mentioned in the Fire Five, was like having a coach to come in and be like, you guys stepped away too fast. You're going to have to make some tough decisions and put yourself back in these roles so that you can get these automations, these systems, these processes in place like they're supposed to be and operating at an efficient level. And then you can look at taking a step back. So there's a lot of manual processes, but it was a lot of like mistakes along the way that taught us that you have to really make sure that if you're going to automate something or you're going to create a process for something, you have to know that it's foolproof and it works on its own before you actually just completely walk away from it,
Yeah, I love how you're just like, listen, we made mistakes. A lot of people won't admit that they make mistakes. And I'm a big like, hey, make mistakes, learn from it, grow from it, and move on. Mistakes are going to happen to everyone, but a lot of people try to hide their mistakes.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't, like, and especially if you want to like help, for us, it's like in me and the role that I play at Lavender as a performance consultant, like I have to be very transparent about the mistakes that I've made as a business owner and the mistakes Marcia and I have found along the way, so that I can help other people avoid those mistakes. And that's another reason why you get a coach, is because you learn from people that have already gone before you and made those mistakes, so you don't have to make them yourself.
Yeah, I mean, hey, nobody wants to make a mistake. Nobody likes to really admit it, but they happen. And in most times, I think if you're honest and, like you said, transparent, mistakes aren't usually going to be the death of your business or the death of yourself. So,
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, how would you describe the return of investment from automating your systems?
I think it's a lot of time. Return on investment in your time. Like as an owner, your time is super valuable, especially depending on what you're looking to do. If you want to have a second location, if you want to scale your business, if you want to, if you have kids and have family and you want to spend more time with your family, if you want to take more vacations, if there are other endeavors that you want to invest your time and energy in, I think the return on investment in automating is not only from a financial perspective, because your business is going to grow naturally on its own, but from a time perspective, like a lot of people just want time back. They want time with their families. They want time to be able to go and do the things that they want to do. For me, it was like, I've always wanted to coach and consult other gym owners. It's been a passion of mine, for a few years now. And it was like, now I have the time freedom to be able to do that. So if you're looking at ROI on automating systems and creating systems in your business, you can't look at it only from a financial perspective, because your time is money too. Like your time as an owner is better spent growing that top 5% of the business versus being in the day-to-day. So
yeah, I like that you said, hey, I wanted to be a consultant. And it's funny, I just said to my husband the other day, I just moved to Florida a couple months ago. I'm trying to find a gym, and I've been like a secret shopper, but yet nobody hired me. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I swear I should transition into being a consultant, because there is a lot of advice that I could give out there to a lot of gyms that I think would help them, grow and do better. And like you said, have some systems in place when somebody new walks through your door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. That is like the number one thing that a lot of people feel like they don't have to work on as a system, because a lot of people think that like a new member, like or a prospect walking in, isn't really a system in your business, but it is. And some of it is automated and some of it's not. But at the end of the day, automated doesn't always have to mean, to me, automation sometimes means on the technical side where things are technically automated, whether it's emails, text messages, outreach. But at the same time, automation happens in systems that your staff is automated to follow a consistent process on a day-to-day basis in every aspect of the business. So I think that's kind of a misconception with automation, especially in the industry, is that automation can only mean like technology and software. And that's not necessarily true. Part of it is true, but the other part of it is automation with your staff too.
I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more on that. All right, Brittany, let's have a little fun. All right. Let's dive a little deeper. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little case study with one aspect of your business that you have converted to a system. So let's take training staff. Okay. So my first question is going to be, what was the problem with your former way of training your staff?
It was all here. Everything that as owners, and if you're listening, I'm pointing at my head. If you're listening, I'm pointing at my head. So everything is always in our heads. As owners, everything stays up here. And we never put it on paper. We never put it in a system. We never documented anywhere. So anytime we had turnover in our staff, it was always like, if it was a coach, Marcia would have to go to the gym and be with that new trainer for a week or 2 weeks because everything was stuck here. For me on the sales customer service side, it was like anytime I hired a new salesperson or anything like that, I had to be there and I was always there because everything was here. Mistake number one is keeping everything in your head and not putting it on paper.
Okay, question number 2. What was your ultimate goal from taking everything from your head to an automated process?
Yeah. So I think what you think about in a studio is, when everything is in your head as an owner, you're always the one having to be there and training people. And that's not the ideal situation. The ideal situation is that you have a process or a system in place that you can plug your staff into, like Trainual, for example. So Trainual is a huge piece of Lady Strong. And that was like the first step for us was like getting everything here into Trainual. And so we put everything in Trainual because you can automate that process. You can send them a link. They go through the documents and quizzes that they need to go through, and it's all automated. Now you've actually removed yourself from the process, and now they're going through an online portal where it's all the same. So every person that's plugged into that role goes through the same process. They understand the same systems. They know the same scripts. They know how those things work. So the ultimate goal was to remove us as owners out of that training process and plug a system in place that can train everybody much faster and much more efficiently than we could on our own.
So that system, how did you do it? I understand what you did, but how did you do it? Did you just take one whole weekend and you're like, all right, we're going to just bang this out? Did you just start making notes, typing away? Really tell us, okay, the first thing we did in the transition.
Yep. The first thing you do is you just start writing things down. You look at every position in your gym and you go, okay, as a coach, what do I expect of that role? What are all the expectations? What are all the responsibilities? How do we track their performance? What systems in the business do they run? What does that role look like? And you break it down. What do they do on a daily basis? What do they do on a weekly basis? What do they do on a monthly basis? From reviews to disciplinary action, to KPI tracking, to logging into workout systems. You have to dissect every single role. And you start with an outline. You just start with an outline. You just brain dump. You just bullet point, brain dump everything. You don't have to deep dive into each bullet point. You literally just sit down. And that's what I did. I just sat down at a laptop and I just brain dumped everything onto Trainual in an outline. And then I went back and I refined each piece. And to be honest with you, it took me 2 years to really get it to where it is now. So it wasn't an overnight process. It was a consistent process. It's like weight loss. Consistency in your workouts and nutrition equals maximum results in weight loss. It's the same thing in business. Consistent results in documenting and delegating and documenting and delegating equal you having a business that runs itself and a staff that runs your systems for you. I always say systems run your business and people run your systems. People should never run your business. They should run the systems that run your business. And you create that by you just let it all out of your head. Just let it all out on a piece of paper. That's where you start.
I love the term you coined, brain dump. I mean, I've heard that before, but I haven't heard that in a long time. I like that. I think everybody can relate to that and understand exactly what you're saying. And I like the fact that you're like, hey, it took us 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely wasn't an overnight process. And now we're in the process of another project that's making me go back and revise everything. So I'm back in there again.
So this is, speaking of revising, what happens when the systems change? Is it hard to update the training manuals? Is it hard to update the staff because now they've been kind of pushed to do it a certain way and now you're changing things? Or is it really not that bad?
It's not that bad. I feel like you have to go into creating systems and automation in your business, understanding that it's a living thing. Like it is something that is ever changing and it's ever evolving and it's never going to stay the same, because look at COVID. COVID threw a wrench in everybody's systems, like everybody. It literally just came through everybody's training documents and like wiped them away and made you start all over again. So like things like that are going to come up, and you're going to have to understand as a business owner that you have to adapt and keep moving forward. And you have to, with staff, they also have to have an understanding that as the business grows and evolves, their roles and responsibilities may change. And as long as they know that you're putting them first, and any change in a process is always going to be kind of with their best interest in mind, and how do I keep my staff performing at an optimum level if I'm going to change these processes, then a lot of staff members will be okay with that, because you lead with your team. You always have your team in mind of like, okay, if I change this process, how does that change my coach's role? How does that change the studio manager's role? So I think it's okay to change and update systems, because that's always going to happen. And 2020 was a total proof of that. But the cool thing about Trainual, and I'll plug Trainual a little bit because I love Trainual, is that if you update, like if you assign people subjects in Trainual and you change anything or update anything, it actually notifies your staff of changes, and that they get an alert that will send them back to that specific area to review any changes that were made to the process. So that's a way to automate kind of any changes, and then communicating that to your staff as you scale.
Yeah. Change is hard for some people. Mm-hmm. Change is easy for some people. Yeah. But I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago, talked about branding, and she made a great point. She said, hey, if you're not making changes to your branding, or as you say, making changes to your system, you're going to fall behind. Mm-hmm. And 2020 and the whole COVID forced so many business owners, so many staff, so many department heads that they had to change, and they were forced to change whether they liked it or not. Yeah. But it's interesting because I feel like, just talking through with a lot of our guests, is that everybody that has changed and pivoted, it's really been for the better, and they've learned a lot from it.
100%. I agree 100% with that.
All right. So rumor has it that you have your team take quizzes on their learnings. Do you think this helps them understand the system? Let's hear about these quizzes.
Yeah. So comprehension is a huge piece of what people are learning, right? So like for coaches, for example, there's a full course that they go through in our training system that they take quizzes after every module that they go through. And it just tests comprehension, and they have to pass with a certain score. But it's like anybody can just read through material and then go to the next thing. But it's like school. Like in college or in high school, you don't go through a chapter in history and not get quizzed or test on it. Like you have to test comprehension and make sure that people understand what they're reading. So 100% think you should put quizzes in place when your staff is going through training, or if you're doing it verbally, like they should be able to, it's like a teach it and then they teach you kind of a system. Like if you're going to teach them something, then they should be able to teach that same thing back to you. Comprehension.
I think you are the first person, at least since I've been doing the podcast, that has quizzed their employees. I think it's pretty super cool, actually. But then I guess I'm not the one taking the quiz. So
it's like school. Like you want them to, like if you ask somebody to sell a membership and overcome an objection, and they have a script that they're supposed to use, and they don't know the script and they don't know how to use it, like that, what's the point? Like they should know, they should have a comprehension of that. So yeah, quiz your staff. And I'm sorry for all the staff members that are listening to this that are now going to get quizzed by your owners, but I cannot be held responsible at all.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the same exact thing. I was like, oh boy, sorry everybody out there, but you said it. That's great. No, It's awesome. It's a new idea. It's a new concept. And that's what we want the Fitness Business Podcast to be all about. We want people out there listening, being like, oh my God, it's a great idea. Or maybe being like, oh, I'd like to try that, or being uncomfortable. I mean, that's what we're here for. So
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Now I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Do you gamify? Because little birdie said something about gamify. Do you gamify in any way the accomplishment of different training modules?
So on our side of things, we don't, but on the Loud Rumor side of things and our virtual training platform, 100% we do. So at Loud Rumor, we have what's called Loud Rumor Virtual Training, and it's a full training platform for studio owners and staff. And the cool thing on that side of things, there's a sales certification that Mike, our CEO, built out, Mike RC, and he built out a beginner, intermediate, and advanced sales training. And if your staff go in there and pass the sales training, they actually get mailed certificates that come through in the mail, and you actually can hang them up in your studio. So there's a lot of gamification on that side of things, on the Loud Rumor training side of things, which is a really cool platform. Mike did an awesome job building that platform out. And our cool thing is our staff is on that platform too. So that's kind of part of our system is the LRVT platform. We utilize that as an arm of training for us. And it's like another training kind of employee without actually having to hire another employee on that side of things too.
Yeah, I came across Loud Rumor over Facebook. I guess, them just pushing out probably, I've probably met some kind of geo shield, and that they pulled me in, and it's been really interesting to follow along. It was a business that I was not familiar with, but over I'd say maybe the last year, I've been following them on social media, and I really enjoy their content.
Yeah.
Brittany, you're obviously a fan of using technology in your business, which I think is just awesome. I think you're super ahead than so many other businesses, and it's important, obviously, to stay ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about switching from manual to technology, and what other types of technology you use within your business.
So I think one of the biggest things in regards to technology is first and foremost, a lot of the automation we do is on the text messaging side of things, and how we communicate with not only prospects and leads, but also members. So there's a lot of different, some people use cell phones, like just a cell phone to text that's at that studio that everybody kind of uses. And then you can upgrade to like ZipUp or Scipio. We're on Fit Pro Tracker now, which is a little bit more robust as far as like email communication and text communication goes for our staff, because it's just a more dialed in approach, and it's also more organized because there's profiles and you can text from there. You can attach documents, you can send emails. Like that piece has been really integral for us as far as an automation standpoint goes. And then also tracking like KPIs. We have a KPI system that we use to track like leads generated, appointments booked, appointments showed, all of our percentages and stuff like that. So I think all of that stuff should be a little bit more automated versus manual. On the workout side of things, we have a digital workout board. So we don't like write things down on a whiteboard anymore. We don't like put it on a piece of paper, just keep it in our heads. That's all tech. We have 6 screens in our gym, and 4 of them have workouts on them, the actual workout of the day on them. And then we also now have digital avatars. So very similar to like your Orange Theories, F45s. We also now have a digital avatar, which is like a workout demo person, like a digital screen. We have 3 screens now in our studio that show the workouts themselves on this the screens. So that has assisted our coaches a lot, because you've got so many people in a room sometimes, and especially with COVID, we don't do a lot of walking around anymore in the studio. We kind of just stay in one spot. So it's nice to have those screens on the walls where our members can look at it and go, okay, yeah, that's how you do a burpee. I get that. Same thing with the workout board. Like when it's written on a whiteboard, it's kind of it is unprofessional a little bit. And if your handwriting's bad, people can't read it, and then you only have one board, people are squinting or they're walking back to the board to see the workout. It's more convenient now. We have them all over in the studio, so members can just look up at the screen. They know what the workout is, and it's a lot easier. So those are a few places that we've really utilized tech in our studio on the front desk side, and then also on the coaching side.
Those are some really creative ideas. I like that very much. How big is your studio, Brittany?
So our actual working space is about 1,300 square feet. The studio itself is about 2,800 in total. So between lobby, bathrooms, we have 2 Normatec recovery rooms that are in the back, and then our employee room.
And what was the first thing you started as far as technology? What would you say for our listeners out there that are like, I really need to push forward into technology? Would you say it was the text messaging? Was it the boards around the room? What was the first thing?
Yeah, I would say start in the front of the house stuff on like the texting, the emailing, the automating that stuff, because in reality, that's where most of your revenue is generated, or where it starts, right? Kind of that revenue generating process starts at the front desk. And if your front desk people cannot be efficient with their communication, with their outreach, with their responses, with their follow-ups, you're going to miss opportunities with prospects, call-ins, walk-ins, web inquiries, referrals. If your front desk processes are not super dialed in and you don't have people using scripts and templates and automating some of that stuff that happens, you're going to end up dropping the ball quite a bit. And then they're not even going to get to experience your workout if you don't even get them in or get them sold on a membership.
And did you have a hard time finding a business that you wanted to go with on the technology side? Or for our listeners out there, is there actually a large variety and maybe they just don't know it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty large variety of CRMs out there that people can use, you know, Scipio, ZipWhip, UpLaunch, TextMagic. There's a lot of different softwares out there. I'm a huge fan of Fit Pro Tracker, and it's the one that I recommend to every studio that I work with at Loud Rumor. We're actually a partner with Fit Pro Tracker through Loud Rumor, and that system is by far the best one and we've used a lot. We've used a lot. That one is by far the best system that we have utilized. It just does so much. And it works so well, and it integrates with so many different things. MindBody, Club Ready. If you have an InBody scanner, it integrates with your InBody. Like, it does a lot of really MyZone. If you have MyZone, it integrates with your MyZone. So there's just a lot of really cool things that FitPro Tracker does. And if I'll save you the hassle and the time and the money of testing out other softwares, and just tell you that FitPro Tracker is the one that works by far the best out of a lot of them.
Okay, good advice. All right, so now I want you to be honest. Do you like the geeking out part of it? Or is it just the fact that you're driven by strengthening your business through these processes? Which is
it's both. Can I be honest? It's both. You know, I am operational minded. I am a true COO at heart. Like, I am not the visionary of the company. I am not 10 years ahead of everybody. I am like, okay, what's happening today? What fires we need to put out today? Like, that's how I am. I love spreadsheets. I love documenting things. That's just my thing. I really enjoy that. I love sales, but I also know that the vision for our business and the vision for what I want to do at Loud Rumor is so big that I have to be able to automate a lot of those things and make sure that they're running efficiently, so that not only can we grow and scale our studio because we want to have multiple locations, but I also want to be able to take on more clients at Loud Rumor and really grow kind of my client base over here too. So both in a roundabout way.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
What are your 3 tips for starting to automate systems within your business?
Number 1 would be document everything. Get it all out of your head and put it somewhere. Google Drive, Google Doc, I don't care where you put it, just get it out of your head for every position and every possible role in your studio. The second thing would be to delegate. Find people on your team to delegate things to that are not things that are driving you to automate your systems better, to be able to kind of have the time freedom that we talked about. So don't be afraid to delegate some of the things. A lot of owners are afraid to let go, and you can't be afraid to let go, especially in this process. And number 3 would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, for me, like I mentioned early, is find a coach, find a mentor, contact me. Like, this is I live and breathe systems and processes. This is what I do every single day. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because there's no stupid question, and you'll get there faster if you are willing to ask for help.
Keep Me, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
Let's get back to the show. Brittany, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. I absolutely loved your topic.
Thank you so much. Honestly, this has been so much fun. I love systems. I love everything automation. This is like my jam. So this is a perfect topic to talk about. So thank you for having me.
I thought you did an excellent job. You got pretty much answered. Your answers were very filled with lots of good information and some different information that I personally haven't heard on the podcast before. So that's awesome. That's great.
Awesome. And I think one thing is, I mentioned it, the three things is just don't be afraid to ask for help. And like Loud Rumor, like a lot of people don't know about Loud Rumor, or what they know about Loud Rumor is just, fitness marketing. They just think that's just lead gen, but really we have a full training program for fitness studios. Like it's called LRVT. It's a full training program. It's a kind of an untapped area. So, and it's something that we use Lady Strong, like our staff is in this program. We're coached in this program. Like it's something that we do too. So if you're listening to this interview and you're going, man, like I wish that I could have a studio like Lady Strong. Number one, contact me because I'm happy to help. And number two, contact me and we'll talk about LRVT because it's one of the main drivers of the success that we've had. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Wow, what a great episode from Brittany Welk. Brittany, we thank you so much for sharing your advice and knowledge with the FBP family. All right, gang, it's now time for a few words from our podcast partner, One Fit Stop.
One Fit Stop is modern fitness studio software built for the growing multi-location studio, providing scheduling, client management, programming, payment collection tools, and more that will set your business up to grow. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com or click on the link in today's show notes.
Quickfire 5.
Next up is Luke Simons, fitness marketing specialist and owner of Leading Socials. He's going to be our guest next week, but first he's going to answer the Quickfire 5 questions. Next week's guest is fitness marketing specialist Luke Simons from Australia. Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast, Luke.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, we're so glad you're here, and let's get through our Quickfire 5 questions and answers. All right, number 1, what was a business or life lesson you learned from one of the jobs you did when you were younger?
I think having a great attitude throughout the whole process can take you a long way in whatever business you are in.
Okay. And if you were not doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
It's really different. I think I would be either in the army or I'll be a police officer, so completely different.
I like that. My son is in the Army ROTC, so future
lovely
cadet. All right. Number 3, one of my favorites. When you write your autobiography, what will be the title?
This is such a tricky one. And I think trying to figure it all out with Luke Simons is probably going to be the title because I think that's just life. It's just trying to figure it all out all at once. So yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Relatable title, I think, to a lot of our listeners out there. All right. Number 4, what is one book that you would recommend and why?
I love the book, The Magic of Thinking Big with David J. Schwartz, I think was the author. And I really love just the attitude that he has within the book and what it can teach so many people out there. So that's why I really love the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, because it makes your dreams kind of come reality, but also having a great attitude along the way.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think I've heard that one before. So awesome.
I think it's a really old book, actually. I think it's really old. So yeah.
That's okay. Still relevant, I'm sure. And finally, Luke, give our listeners your best sales pitch, why they should come back next week to hear your wisdom.
I specialize in pretty much fitness marketing, but also increasing influence and organic sales, which also drives up the lifetime value of your client and member while decreasing marketing spend. So that's pretty much my sales pitch in a nutshell.
Okay, well, great topic. So many listeners out there, I'm sure, are going to be super excited to hear what you have to say next week. So make sure you come back, everybody. Here's a message from our podcast partner, Precor.
Tribe, if you haven't explored a functional training space for your gym, then now is the time. With Queenex Functional Training by Precor, there is a unit to fit every space. Plus, education is included to ensure that training is delivered with confidence. You need to jump online and check this out right now. Go to precor.com/fitness business podcast.
If you would like to continue a conversation with Brittany Welk or connect with her on social media, head on over to our show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can find her contact information. Next up, a message from our founding partner, Active Management.
Hi FBP family, it's JT from Active Management, the founding partner of the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks to the amazing technology at our fingertips, we can now work with clients all over the world. But right now, you can join the free online Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group of people just like you. Sure, I share weekly resources, but it's the power of the community that you will experience that will make this your go-to Facebook group. Remember, it's free, fun, and inspirational. Go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community.
What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.